Hey guys, I'm Emiline, aka Winterstar Cosplay, and in this video I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks to help you with cosplaying as a minor. I'm going to be covering a lot of different topics in this video, so if you want to watch the whole thing through, then by all means go ahead and do that, but if you're struggling with something specific, you can check down below and skip ahead to the part of the video that talks about what you're struggling with. So let's get into the video. One of the first problems that I think a lot of people have with cosplay is the lack of belief of the people around them. A lot of people think that cosplay is only for kids and it's super childish and just basically dress up. And on the other side, a lot of people think that it just has to be like adult and sexy or whatever. But I have been doing cosplay for a long time and I can tell you that it's definitely not childish. People do this for their jobs. Like, they spend hundreds of hours and hundreds of dollars on Hollywood level costumes. And it's definitely not childish. And I've been doing cosplay since 2018 and I've never done like an adulty cosplay, so neither of those things are things you have to do. There's also a ton that you can learn from cosplay, from the actual costuming part, like sewing, painting, crafting, so many other things, to maybe the photography side of it, like photography, makeup, lighting, film work, so many different things that you can learn from cosplay. So it's definitely not a childish waste of time. And don't let people convince you not to do it because it's too nerdy or something like that. It definitely is maybe a little bit nerdy, but if it's something that you genuinely enjoy, then don't let anybody stop you from doing it. Another thing that I feel like a lot of minors have trouble with cosplaying is lack of money. I was a child like 3 months ago, so I definitely know this struggle. So some things to help with that are have a budget and know how much money you have to spend on your cosplay. Something else, shop at cheap places. I have whole videos on things you can get for cosplay at Walmart and Dollar Tree, and thrift stores are going to be your best friend when shopping for cosplay. And you can also use stuff just laying around your house, just get creative with it. Another tip is don't pick a cosplay that is super complicated or that you know will be super expensive to make, especially when you don't have the money for it. Basically, when you're on a budget, know what your budget is, shop at cheap places, and get creative with stuff. Those are my top 3 tips for anybody on a budget. And if you need more help with cosplaying on a budget, you can check out my Cosplay on a Budget ebook, which I will have linked below. Kind of going along with being on a budget and not having a lot of money is not having a lot of resources, so let's cover that next. When you don't have a ton of resources available to you to cosplay, the number one thing is to get creative with it. You don't have to use something for what it was intentionally meant to be used for. I have used curtains to make capes for cosplay, I have used shirts to make gloves. There are so many things you can get creative with if you're not using things the way that maybe they were initially intended. Another tip is to reuse things you did for previous cosplays or that you already have. I have used the same white dress shirt for so many of my cosplays. Something else that is super handy when you don't have a ton of resources and maybe can't order things like wigs online or go to a wig store is cosplaying without a wig. I actually made a whole video about this and it is super easy to do and I do it a lot. Another tip for cosplaying when you don't have a ton of resources is to substitute things. Maybe you don't have the exact match for what you need to cosplay, but you might have something that's pretty close and 9 times out of 10 people aren't going to be able to tell the difference. So just go along with what you already have and what you can get pretty easily. Don't stress too much about making it exactly screen accurate. And for learning cosplay, the internet and YouTube are your best friend. There are so many great tutorials here on YouTube and blogs and build write-ups and so many things on the internet that you can learn cosplay for free. And so you should definitely take advantage of that. So moving on to the next thing is lack of transportation. If you are a minor, most of the time you won't be able to drive super far to a con and stay overnight, or you won't be able to drive super far to a photo shoot, but not to worry. If you want to do a photo shoot, then you can do them at home or in your yard. I have done a ton of photo shoots this way and it's super easy. If you want to go to a convention but there's none nearby, then you can do one online. There are a ton of online conventions. One of them that I go to a lot is BizBaz at Home, which is an online convention that happens every month. These aren't quite the same vibe as in-person cons, but they can still be a ton of fun. Or you can always look for conventions nearby and maybe see if your parents will take you to them. The final thing that I wanted to talk about in this video for helping minors cosplay is safety. You should always be safe when you're cosplaying. If you're going to a convention or a photo shoot, try to always have another person with you. If you're using a new piece of complicated equipment like a sewing machine or a heat gun, make sure that you read the instructions and be safe and careful with it. If you're posting cosplay photos and videos online, make sure that you're safe and be careful with things like your actual name, where you live, and other things like that. Just basic internet safety. Don't share too many things with random strangers on the internet. A lot of cosplay materials can also be toxic, so make sure that with things like Plastidip or spray paint that you always go outside, wear a respirator, and wear gloves. Be careful with these kinds of things because you don't want to accidentally poison yourself. And if you are unsure about something, maybe the proper way to use a tool, or if a convention is a good choice for you, then you can always ask. There are a ton of cosplayers out there who are more than happy to answer questions that you might have about cosplaying. Just make sure that you use the same safety principles when talking to people online, and always take things people say on the internet with a grain of salt. Make sure to do your own research and draw your own conclusions. And there you have it, a bunch of different tips for helping you cosplay as a minor. I hope that this video was helpful to you and maybe you learned a little bit about cosplaying and how you might go about it. If you want to cosplay, do it. Don't let anybody stand in your way. Be safe and careful and have fun with it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and I will see you all next time.